All right, guys, got another big buck coming to you from Mississippi. This one kind of touches home because this guy's not too far from where I grew up. I grew up in North Mississippi, but he's a little bit further south. Can't disclose his location. But we got Walker Hilbun. Hilbun, right?
Yes, sir.
Not Hilburn. I want to say it so bad, but welcome to the podcast, Walker. Good to have you on today. Ready to talk about an absolute hammer in Mississippi. And if you guys have ever hunted in the South, you know just how hard it is to take a deer in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, any around in there. So he's done something. So y'all stick with us. It's 167 inches is what we'll say. All right, Walker, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
So I go to Starkville Academy. I'm a senior. I'm 18, and really enjoy the outdoors. That's where I spend pretty much all my time out of school, whether it's deer hunting, duck hunting. I mean, I like all things. I just like being outside. And I started hunting when I was around 7 years old. I killed my first deer when I was 7 with a crossbow. And I got into bow hunting when I was 10 or 11. Took me a year or two to get my first deer, but I finally got one, and I'd had this dream after I started killing does with the bow that I really wanted to kill this big deer one day. I knew it was going to happen because as much time as I spent in the woods, I really wanted to kill a big deer. And it's like seeing deer on cameras, like every 3 or 4 years we have a deer, not this big, but we have a pretty big deer, and it's always really hard to hunt with a bow.
Right.
And I wasn't confident enough to go after any deer like that with a bow yet. And finally being able to have the confidence to do that after the hours and hours of practice I put in has really made me appreciate the outdoors. So,
yeah, for sure. I hear. I mean, I'm an archery hunter too, but I'm not gonna lie. Whenever I can pick up a rifle, I'm getting the rifle. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying. In archery hunting, once you do connect on a good deer, I do agree. It is hard to grab a rifle, especially once you get a good one like you have. So tell us a little bit about your place. So I'm going to say central Mississippi. I don't want to disclose your location, but tell us a little bit about your place you hunting here. Is it private land? Is it public?
It's private. So this place was bought by my grandfather, block by block of land, blocks by blocks of land. And we've had it in the family for different pieces for 30 to 40 years. And this specific block, I'm not exactly sure how long we've had it, but it's a pretty good sized block, and we've got a little over 2,000 acres out here. Yes, sir. And we really try and manage the place. In the past 2 years, we've made, I think, by the time we finish this year, a little over 100 acres of food plots.
Wow. Golly. So you're putting the work in for sure. 100.
Yes,
wow. That is a lot.
We cleared out some 10, 11-year-old ponds, like just cleared every single bit of it out. We made a 18-acre field and a 23-acre field, all in the same block, about 200 yards from each other. But the amount of deer that it's pulled in has been really crazy. And like what it's done to change the place, like 2 or 3 years ago, and even further back than that, like a big doe was 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're killing deer that's 130, 140 pounds. Like for does, that's insane. And looking at that, it's like that's really working, and that's just encouragement to do even more.
Right, for sure. Yeah, so no doubt, you got the cover, you got the food, you got the water, you got the deer. I mean, and if you're putting in 100 acres worth of food plots, that is a lot. I mean, most people, they're putting 2 to 3 acre little food plots on a 100-acre tract, and that's it. They call it. They got somewhere to draw a deer, and they put some corn out. But definitely, you're managing the property. What are you planting in that food plot? Y'all wheat, oats, mix and stuff.
So mainly this year we planted wheat, and we had a mixture of white clover and balanza clover. That's been the main source of food.
Yeah, turkeys like that too.
Yes, sir, they do. And our turkey population's actually gone up a lot the past couple of years. That's just awesome. For those big fields, having more food and doing predator control.
Yeah, you manage everything benefits from it, no doubt. So tell us a little bit about this deer. Let's just roll straight into it. We always love to get to the point of it and get to the story. So this deer in particular, what's the history of this deer? Did you just show up this year?
No, sir. We've had pictures of him. This was the third year I've had pictures of him. I killed a deer in velvet 2 years ago, and I mean, just a crazy deer. I mean, he wasn't anything super special. He wasn't really big or anything, but he had a ton of character on him. And the deer that I killed was actually running with him. He was his running buddy. He
Mm-hmm.
was with him throughout the summer and throughout the first couple weeks of the season until I killed him. And I didn't realize it until this past year that that was actually the deer that I'd shot. We had pictures of the deer I shot last year. He had made a big jump to what we think was right at 150 inches.
Mm-hmm.
And we could tell he was a 4.5, 5 year old. And my dad's like, yeah, we need to let him go if you can. And at the time, he was bigger than anything I've ever killed, even at that size. And I passed him 4 or 5 times in those food plots we had made. And I got a couple really good looks at him, like he was really, really special. You know, it was tough, but I just kind of grit my teeth and let him go.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful I did. And we were really worried about him making him through the summer and just having like the comfort of that. Like after we get those first couple pictures, my dad and I actually rode to the back of a field. We have a Tracker off-road electric cart.
Mm-hmm.
We drove it to the back of one of those fields, and we could see just an absolute massive rack
Man.
running through the field with 5 or 6 other rack bucks. And my dad's like, we're coming back here tomorrow. We're going to put a camera up. I'm like, all right. So we went back the next day. We put a bag of corn out in the field. This was, I think, in August, a month and a half, 2 months before deer season.
Yeah, so he had his velvet. I mean, he had it growing pretty good, but wasn't fully there yet. But you could tell he had a good frame on him.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So we put that corn out, put a couple cameras out, and we get a picture of him that night. And when we did, it's just, I mean, my dad, like, I hadn't checked my phone yet. He had opened the Tacticam app and went through, and he was jumping up and down. He's like, that's why I let deer. And I was like, oh my gosh, like seeing that deer and like thinking about him like last year was just insane. Like the size difference, and I was very thankful that I'd let it go. Like I was proud of myself.
And it's such a rewarding thing too, man. After all those times and hours you put in the field of the food plots and all, that's is and stand hanging and all that, man. I know exactly, especially in the South, it's very, very rewarding to see a deer of that caliber. Is this land too, like around you? Is it a lot of pressure, a lot of hunting pressure, or is it pretty? Everybody else around you, are they all on board?
Some of them are, some of them aren't. Like if they see, like last year, like if that deer had wandered off to a person's property, it's getting shot.
Yeah.
But he had made it off to another tract of land we had, and luckily he didn't get shot. And he stayed there at the end of the year and kind of worked his way back to his summer home after deer season. But I mean, people around here are pretty good about not shooting a deer with small. But I mean, any deer that's got a good size, he's getting shot. I think no matter the age, really.
Yeah, that's unfortunate, but you can't necessarily blame them. I mean, it's I don't know. It's a mix about it. You know, you always have that thought of, well, if he crosses the line, and the other people are going to shoot him, so I might as well shoot him. You know, but if you can get everybody on board, then you can have good deer. And if you can have a decent amount of tract of land like you guys have and hold them, then you can have good deer. And you let them go like you do, you can have good deer. So go into that. So y'all put a camera up. You saw him, had him on camera.
So we put 2 or 3 cameras up, kind of found out where he was coming through, and just thinking and planning ahead for season. At the time, we had, well, we still have out there, a redneck blonde out there. Mm-hmm. Sitting up kind of on top of a little crest of a hill that's in the field, which is actually where I shot him out of. And it's hard to, like, I was really wanting to kill him out of a lock on, but that's hard to do because in those fields, deer come from every single direction. Like, there is no not getting smelled. Like, if I did go in there, like, I just have to pray and not get smelled. Like, it's impossible, I think, not to get smelled in there.
Right.
It's just deer literally come from everywhere. So that afternoon before I killed him, it was a great, real pretty afternoon. I wasn't really planning on going hunting, but my dad, like, it was a real cool afternoon. It'd been some warmer weather, and it finally cooled off a good bit. Mm-hmm. The average temperature probably went down 15 degrees. it was, I don't think at the time. At that time, it was like 2:30, and he called me. He's like, "Hey, you need to go get in the woods. I'm seeing deer everywhere."
Yeah.
All right, I'll go get in the woods. And he told me where I thought I should go. So I got my climber, I got my bow, and I took off. And I got on the edges of these hardwoods that surround that back field that I actually killed him out of. And I got 60 yards at the edge of the field off a little creek that runs through. And at the time, acorns were on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
So I climbed up about 25 feet, and I got there pretty early. I sat down, and I had over 30 deer within 20 yards of me that hunt.
Wow.
Like, it was a really, really good hunt. That's not including like the deer that were in the field. That's how many deer walked under me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really, really good hunt. And we had a camera out there just over some white clover.
Mm-hmm.
It was 30, 40 yards from the redneck. And at the time, this is before the time change, it was 6:30. I checked my phone. Well, there he is. Lo and behold, right before dark.
Man.
Gosh dang. So I was close to him, and I was within 150 yards of where he was at. So I waited about 20 minutes after dark. I got down real quiet, didn't spook any deer, made a long loop going out. And I get back to the cabin, and I talk to my dad. He's like, "Hey, dude, you can't be mad. I mean, you were in the game. You were close to him." He goes, I'm glad you went. Just he was very encouraging about that.
Right.
And he goes, "We're going to do something tomorrow morning. I think you can get him." So we went down to the back of the field at about 10:30 the next morning. We drove the cart over there so we didn't spook anything. And we took some like bed skirts, blackout, like to black out the redneck.
Yeah.
So we covered every single window.
Yeah.
Except for one. He goes, "I think if he does the same thing he did yesterday, he should walk right through here." And said, "You should have a shot." Because the distance between the blind and the edge of the field where the woods were
Mm-hmm.
was 35 yards. So we blacked it out, and we got out of there. I went and got in the blind real early. And man, it was hot that afternoon, like until the sun went down.
Yeah.
It was warm. I was breaking a sweat in that blind.
I can
But
imagine.
let me think. It took a while for the deer to start moving. It's probably 4:45 before I saw my first deer. And they, like after that first one, they just started piling in the field. So I'm waiting. Bucks start coming out. I had 4 rack bucks out at that point. And it gets to 5:30, and lo and behold, I look back, and I pull back that curtain on one of those windows, and I look, and I see him. I just see the rack, and
Oh,
I see the
man.
antlers, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is going to be a ride." Taking the binoculars, I'm looking at it, and I'm like, "Golly." I'm getting nervous at this point. He popped out at like 80 yards, and I've got my bow in my lap ready.
What are you comfortable at? What are you comfortable at shooting?
I practiced back to 85 yards.
Wow. Okay. Heck yeah. You launch them on out there.
Yes, sir.
But
I could have
comfortably, I mean, you can thump one about 30 to 40.
I could shoot it. I feel like I could shoot it at 40, 45 yards.
Easy. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Pretty easily.
And I saw you shooting a Matthews, and they have come so far, haven't they?
Yes,
It's
sir. I
incredible.
love my Matthews. I bought it not this summer before, and I really, really loved it. It's made me enjoy shooting a whole lot more. I had a Matthews mission before.
Yeah.
Taking that jump on the next bow
Mm.
was awesome.
So you have
I
the
really love
do you have the lift or
I have the phase 4.
the phase
My dad
4?
has it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. They're
I like
sweet,
the
man.
phase 4. I really love it. He's feeding that field. He's walking back, and he walked back and forth the whole time, back and forth. So he get close, and he walk back.
Oh,
He get
God.
close, and he walk back. So I'm in this field, right, and I'm 30, 40 yards off the closest point of the edge of the field. And so he can walk anywhere. Like, there's no telling what he's going to do. And he starts walking to the left side of me, and I need him to walk in front of me. Like, he's going to go around the other side of the blind where I have it blacked out, have everything closed. I'm like, dang it. So I look, and I can't see him, and I peel back that little curtain we made, and I look down, and he's 10 yards.
Oh my
And, like,
God.
yeah. Probably wet my pants a little bit, but he took his, like, when he looked, he kind of took his head like this and looked up, and put it back down. And when I tell you, I'd never closed the curtain so fast, and I turned and sat in my seat, had my bow. I was like, I'm not looking again.
Oh
Not
my
until he stepped out
gosh.
where I could see him.
So he
Move
was
up into
used to that blind. I mean, there ain't no doubt he was used to the blind. And I think like your dad might have helped you on this one for sure. Him putting that curtain up, I have done the exact same thing. You don't want any silhouette in that blind. So
yes, sir.
that's a really cool trick too. So he's 10 yards. What are you what are you doing at that point? I mean, is he
Man,
shootable or is he behind you?
that scared me. Like he was right there to my left, kind of over my left shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there in the blind. I'm like, I'm not looking again. Like, And he'd finally, like, after another 20 minutes, he'd gotten to 615, 620. He finally made up his mind. I had 4 bucks fighting right in front of me, where I'd like open the window and they're right there. There was 2 8 points fighting, there was 2 smaller bucks fighting, and I guess that gave him the urge to walk over there. And he walked over there like the boss.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a hurry. I mean, he walked by me at like 10 yards right to my left before that window. So I took the window and opened it real slow. Nothing saw me. And I'm ready. I got my bow on my hip. I'm waiting. And he finally gets to 20 yards. And he's about to be there. 2 or 3 more steps, and he's there. So I draw back. When I drew back, my broadhead hit the glass in the window.
Of course it did.
It's made it look big. And I'm in my mind, I'm like, golly. And I draw back, and I slowly lean, and he's right there. It's 27 yards where I marked it. And I let her fly. And I thought it's perfect broadside when I shot him. It turns out he was a little bit more angled away from me than I thought he was.
Yeah.
But I got liver and I got the lung on the other side.
He make it out of the field.
He did.
He did.
Believe it or not. He ran about 50 yards and laid down. And of course, I was like, oh yeah, he's dead, right?
Yeah.
So I let it get dark, about 20 minutes after dark. I don't have a flashlight or anything. And I'm slowly walking out there to him. I'm on bare dirt like we had just planted.
Yeah.
And I'm walking, like I can see I shoot these lighted knocks. I can see the lighted knocks sticking out of him. So I'm walking. I get about 30 yards from him. All of a sudden, that lighted knock disappears. And I hear it crashing through the woods. And I was like, dude. So I walked out, and I talked to my dad and one of my dad's real good buddies who's been in this situation a few times. And he's like, look, I know you don't want to, and I know you're not going to sleep, but you need to wait till the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
You have to, man. With this caliber of a deer, you cannot chance it.
Yes, sir. So we got up right before daylight, and my dad's buddy who gave us that advice, he and his kid came out here. My mom, my dad, and one of my dad's friends who had a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to take it. He's like, look, he said, we may not need him. We may need him. It's just better to have him and us find him and, not need him. So my dad said, well, go ahead and let the dog work. So we got out and we're walking. We're following the dog. And I get out there to 30 yards from where he was, and there's just piles of blood. Piles of blood. And I'm like, there's no way this deer got anywhere. Well, turns out he made it a couple hundred yards. Some coyotes had gotten to him. We think like coyotes had pushed him.
Yeah.
Because there were some spots, it was like just piles of blood where we thought he had stopped or laid down. But he hadn't made it too far. But I was shooting these 2-inch mechanicals, and the difference is between like me getting 1 lung and 2 lungs was literally 2 inches.
Yeah. But talk about dang emotions, man. I mean, you're 10 yards. I mean, this sucker's right here under you. He gets 27. You thump him, and he's laying in the field. You think he's done, and then you get up and then you push him. Oh my gosh! And then I don't know. I've had those same emotions, and it's just nothing like it. You do not sleep at night. It's no matter what you do. You can take as much melatonin as you want, but you are not sleeping, and you're ready to get up at daybreak and hit it. But so at least you found him. How bad the coyotes get to him? Pretty bad.
Not bad. They just pulled the guts out of him.
Yeah, well, that's good.
They hadn't torn up any of the upper part of his body, which was good.
So walking up to this, what do you think? I mean, because this is obviously your biggest deer, but I mean, how much bigger of a deer is this than you ever had?
Ooh. Oh my gosh, over 25.
Yeah. So whenever you're walking up to 150, 60 plus inch deer, it's magical. It's like, how does this live in the wild? Like, how does this even exist?
Yes,
And
sir.
especially in
Absolutely.
Mississippi, the good old Mississippi boy, you're just like, man, I ain't ever going to kill nothing. No 130, 140 inch 8 points about all I'm ever going to kill, you know? And then you have
Yes,
one
sir.
of these unicorns just show up on your property. It's crazy. So
Yes, sir.
that's incredible, dude. That is so cool. 167 inches. Y'all scored him out yourself. That
We
is
did.
awesome. That is so
He almost
cool.
he touched right short of 40 inches of mass.
Oh my gosh, dude. You can, and
Yes,
he
sir.
carries it all the way to the tips. You don't by any chance have his horns, do you?
Not with me, I
They're
don't.
the taxidermy.
Yes, sir, he
Yeah,
is. He's
if
getting
I,
mounted.
oh, I would definitely. What are you doing? Shoulder mount?
Yes, sir, I am.
Yeah, that'd be so sick, dude. Heck yeah. That is
Yes,
so
sir.
awesome. I'm so proud for you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it.
What else? What else you want to share, man? Anything else that y'all do on your property that kind of maybe could help any listeners to kind of help?
Just like maybe managing deer and like what we try and do. Like my dad's been working a lot. Like I'm just here. I'm helping him. It's really mostly him. I can't take really any credit for that. So I give really all the credit to him because
Yeah,
he pays for everything and he does the majority of the work.
yeah. Hats off to
Just
Dad too for thinking of
yes,
that
sir.
too. He helped you big time on that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And he's got a couple friends that are wildlife biologists, and they kind of
Okay.
help like decide what plans we need to do and help manage the property and
Yeah.
what's better for the benefit of wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like been a really big part of like putting fields in and doing predator control. You just making sure there's enough food out there, making sure
Yeah.
the deer are healthy.
Yeah. No doubt. Like I said earlier, if you've got the food, water, cover, you have deer, and if you manage them and let them go, you'll have big deer. If you can get your neighbors to get on board, you'll have big deer. It is literally that simple, and you can do it on 5 acres, 10 acres. You don't have to have 500, 2,000, 3,000. I mean, you can seriously do it on little or nothing. But man, we can't thank you enough. We really appreciate you getting on the podcast, and you just got out
Sir.
of school, come on home, jumped on a computer, and got on for us. So that was
Yes,
short
sir.
and sweet. Hope this podcast helps you guys. This is a Walker from Central Mississippi. I ain't gonna tell us where. Just near Stark, Vegas is all I'm gonna say. But 167 inches. We can't thank you enough, Walker, for getting on with us.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Ain't no problem, buddy. Well, y'all tune
Yes,
in
sir.
for the next one. We got more coming to you. Appreciate y'all for watching.